guys, and welcome to today's Los Blancos podcast. Today I'll be discussing some of the new transfer rumours. Obviously, we didn't have a podcast last week during the international break, but we're back. I'm going to be discussing some of the transfer rumours that have been going through recently. First of all, let's talk about Trent, because it looks like that deal is practically finished at this moment in time. I'd say probably 99% done. David Ornstein gave it pretty much done, and Fabrizio Romano backed it up. So it's probably going to happen. There's more chance of it happening than not. So at this point, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Trent. I will give a more in-depth analysis in the summer, probably when that transfer formally goes through and he's unveiled and etc. But in terms of what Trent brings, I mean, we all know Trent's just a ridiculously good footballer. Technically, we've never denied that, and he's a fantastic just crosser of the ball, passer of the ball, and he's a great finisher as well. So, he's got over 100 goals and assists, and he's age 25, 26. So it's a remarkable footballer to be adding to your team, which is already full of remarkable footballers. But one thing I am a bit concerned about is the defense, and obviously it's one thing where Trent's always been picked on defensively, looked at as the weak link often against a lot of teams. But it's also a bad thing in terms of Real Madrid's defense is not great at all. So adding Trent Alexander-Arnold to that setup of already comical defending is possibly not the best idea. You look at it currently this season, obviously we've got Mr. Lucas Vazquez, who's been absolutely terrible so far this season, who looks like he possibly will not be getting a contract extension. So this will probably be his last season at Real Madrid. Well, he's not been great, has he? So adding Trent, obviously, instead, I think Trent's probably better than Lucas Vazquez defensively, but it's still not great, right? It's still not ideal. It's still not like a lockdown defender for when you come up against Rafinha. Rafinha's still going to be licking his lips, looking at Trent Alexander-Arnold instead of Lucas Vazquez. So obviously that's a little bit of an issue, I find. And then going forward, I mean, Trent's crossing ability has always been one that's like, oh my god, it's just so ridiculously good. His ability to pinpoint every single pass is something just like, we haven't seen in a very long time. I'd say David Beckham, that's the level we're talking about. Obviously that comes with a couple of issues with this current Real Madrid setup. I'm not saying Trent's technical ability is limited to just him swinging the ball in the air, but obviously with Real Madrid's current setup in our attack, the only guy who can head the ball within that final third is Jude Bellingham. Mbappe, I can't remember Mbappe ever scoring a header. I remember one for Vinicius and one for Rodrigo each. But that's obviously not ideal, is it? But we also know Trent's more versatile than just crossing the ball. So obviously that it's a bit concerning on Real Madrid's side that we're going to bring in a player who brings strengths that we don't have. But obviously he can't use those strengths to the maximum ability when we've got such a forward line who can't head the ball. If we still have Joselu, then I'll definitely be like, yes, bring him in 100%. This is a right back who's going to bring us so much, but we'll see what happens there. But one thing I'm really excited about for Trent is the fact that we're going to finally have that Toni Kroos replacement. Now, when you're selling someone like Toni Kroos, you're not going to be able to replace him completely. So therefore you have to spread that ability across the team and bring it elsewhere. Obviously we've somewhat tried to replace it with Dani Ceballos, but obviously now he's injured. Tchouameni's sometimes taking some of the load, but not all of it. He can't take all of it because he's not that type of player. Camavinga, the same thing. He hasn't had a great season, but it is what it is, right? And so when you bring in Trent, that's something where you can definitely bring those incisive passes that cut through a whole defense. With Trent, you can bring in a guy who can control the game, who can cut inside. He's been doing that for the last couple of seasons. And while certainly I don't think he's a midfielder, I don't think he should be playing as a central midfielder. I think him playing as an inverted wing back, especially in this system, could definitely help us. But the problem with that is Real Madrid also kind of need something else from their right back, as in they need a guy to spread the play. Think about what Dani Carvajal does when he's in the team. When he's in the team, he gets nice and wide, opens the game up beautifully, receives whatever pass that comes to him, and he plays on from there. That's what Dani Carvajal does, and he's the exception at it. If we suddenly have Trent going towards the midfield, then suddenly we've got a huge asymmetrical issue, one in which Trent doesn't exactly help. If you bring him into the midfield, then we've already got a huge amount of our players already drifting towards the left. If we've got no outlet ball to the right, then suddenly things are so cramped in the midfield, so cramped on the left-hand side, so much space on the right-hand side, and defence finds it easier. Defence like Getafe, a defence like, I don't know, Villarreal, who we played last week, they find it so easy to stop that, because they can just cram the whole defence onto one side. And double up on Vinny, double up on Mbappe, no issues are asked there. So you're kind of falling into an issue there where you're going to be asking Trent to do two roles at once, doing the Toni Kroos role in cutting in, but also doing the Dani Carvajal role of going wide and sorting that out. But then you talk about the defence. I think that's going to bring me to my second player who we're going to talk about today, because we have to talk about Dane Huijsen. He's been absolutely remarkable for Bournemouth this season, and what I expected was for Real Madrid to just go and get Trent Alexander-Arnold this summer, and that was it. That was it, because we Raul Asensio had emerged, David Alaba's back, all's good. We don't need to sign a centre back. Is what the board would think, right? But the emergence of Den Huijsen as a really good player, someone who's good enough to start for the Spanish national team, age 19, and has been absolutely remarkable for Bournemouth, doing absolutely everything at the back for Bournemouth. He's been fantastic, locking up attackers, being really good in the air, really good on the ball, really solid, and isn't aggressive. He complements the two centre-backs, two young centre-backs that we have really nicely, complements Militao, Asensio and Rudiger really nicely with his style of play. So I think bringing in someone like Den Huijsen could be a really good addition. We've obviously talked about Lenny Oro in the past, and this is one of my issues. We need to find that partner for Eder Militao long term. Well, Raul Asensio had emerged so far this season, but I think also bringing in a guy like Den Huijsen, who's absolutely remarkable at this age, is absolutely necessary. I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to get a player of his quality for 50 million, which is dead cheap in this market. Buying centre backs for 50 million of his quality is absolutely impossible, and that opportunity just come up. Real Madrid need to snap that up, because that doesn't come about very often. You think about Lenny Oro, who hasn't been that great this season, but we were talking about him like we needed him, right? He went for 70 mil, which is why Real Madrid didn't go for it in the end. So I think that's really important that we go and get Den Huijsen, and it gives us so much more defensive flexibility. Think how like crowbarred we've been so far this season, where at different points this season we've had to play Tchouameni, Ferland Mendy, we've had to play the Dani Carvajal last season, we had to play so many different guys in stupid positions, different positions. If we bring Den Huijsen, suddenly those issues kind of go away, right? Go away, and things get a lot easier for us. So I think Den Huijsen would make that defensive thing a lot better. We talked about his in terms of how he fits with the. I think he'll fit with the Raul Asensio. We've talked about how he fits with the other defenders very nicely. And also, we need to improve the Spanish profile of this squad. We've talked about Lucas Vazquez just about to leave, right? We need to actually get a few more Spanish players in, because, at the end of the day, this is a Spanish club and we need a few more guys from the Spanish national team. It is kind of embarrassing if Real Madrid, if let's say Spain go ahead and win the World Cup next year, and there's no Real Madrid players in the starting 11. That's kind of embarrassing, especially if Barcelona have Lamine Yamal, Pau Cubarsí, Marc Casado, Gavi, Pedro, all in the starting lineup, and Real Madrid have zero. So I think we need to improve that Spanish contingent within our squad a lot more than we currently have. But I think we can do that. Bring in Huijsen, and that's definitely an opportunity for us. I also want to talk about the fact that we could play a back three. I think this would make a lot more sense next season if we play a back three, because our centre back options will look like this. Will look like Huijsen if we sign him. If we sign Huijsen, it will look like Huijsen. It will sign Militao when he comes back. Rudiger, Asensio, Alaba. And then Tchouameni is an emergency if you need it. That's really good options, right? Those are really good options, and you need to fit them into the team somehow. I think that would be a really good option. Then suddenly you don't have to worry about Trent defensively so much. So that's obviously gone away. Then the left back, I would suggest playing Camavinga left wing back, or playing Fran Garcia left wing back. We've been talking about potential new left back as well. Miguel Gutierrez has been coming up a lot recently. I would like it. He's been good, but I don't know if it's worth getting Miguel over Fran Garcia. And then I would go for a midfield of Tchouaméni, Bellingham, Valverde, and then I've cocked it up. I've cocked it up. And then front two of Mbappe and Vini. Obviously, that then pushes Rodrigo outside of the starting lineup, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it because that defensive cover is now sorted. You get Trent into the team without sacrificing your defensive ability. And then you suddenly get a lot more control of the ball. You suddenly get a lot more actually threatening on the ball. I know Rodrigo dips out, but unfortunately that's what happens when you got Vinicius and Mbappe. And so I think it would be a really good fit for Dean Huijsen comes in. And the last player we're going to talk about quickly, it's not too much of a rumour, but Martin Zubimendi has been talked about quite a lot recently, although David Ornstein did kind of put an end to those rumours yesterday when he said that Arsenal were most likely to get him. So I'm not too sure about this one. A lot of people have not been excited about Martin Zubimendi. For 60 million, I agree, it's very overpriced. I don't think he's worth 60 million. I think close to 40 is probably more fair, but I think he's a really good player. I think he's the type of player that we really desperately need in the squad. But at the end of the day, 60 million for a squad player, it's as ludicrous as it sounds. So I just don't think it's the right move to make. 60 million for a guy who's going to sit on the bench for most weeks is not ideal. And although he would massively improve this squad, and if we brought him for free, then I would say absolutely 200 million times. I'm a big fan of Martin Zubimendi. When you watch him, he's an excellent player. But 60 million, just too much. Let him go to Arsenal. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, just a quick podcast today for this week as well. Tomorrow we got a game against Leganes. If I was to quickly run through the Leganes team, who I presume is going to start against Leganes, I would say goalkeeper, I would say Lunin's going to start, Courtois out. Right back, Lucas Vazquez. Fedez played a couple games a couple of days ago. Centre backs, I would say probably would be Alaba and Asensio. Neither of them had to play too much. Rudiger did have to play, so I would say them two. And then the left back, I would guess it would be Fran Garcia. I hope it's Fran Garcia, but most likely it's probably going to be Ferland Mendy. Then the midfield, I would say go for a midfield of Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and then do you go for Bellingham is the question. I would say probably not. You give him some rest. He played a couple of days ago. You don't have to rest. You don't have to play him against Leganes late. It's not that important. Well, it's an important game, but it's not a difficult game. So I'd go for Modric instead there. I know he played a couple of days ago as well, but he didn't play the whole stretch of the game. Then the front three. Problem is Vini and Rodrigo played literally like 3 days ago. So I think I'm going to have to say front three of Mbappe, Brahim Diaz and Arda, but it's probably going to be, I reckon Ancelotti probably will still play Vinicius and Rodrigo, one of the two. But yeah, that's it for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.